Well,
We'll start that off, and yeah,
okay.
I'll hand it off to Ellie. Thanks, Ellie, for joining us, and yeah, I hope everything, or I hope everybody gets gets something out of this workshop.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Welcome, members. I just wanted to begin by giving a bit of background about me. I'm a brain injury survivor, just like you. I sustained my injury from a devastating car accident when I was 18. I spent my recovery at Kelowna General Hospital for 6 months and then at Connect Communities for 18 months. In my long recovery journey, I had to relearn to walk, talk, and function independently. After I moved home, I began taking high school upgrading courses and was determined to continue my recovery. I eventually graduated years later since I could only manage one course at a time. Again, years later, after my divorce, my priorities changed, and I spent the next year learning about my own needs independent of anybody else. So, a year later, I was drawn to go back to school yet again to become a counselor. I wanted to help others overcome challenging life circumstances like I had, only finding their own unique path. I designed this three-part workshop for brain injury survivors to help identify their boundaries, communicate the need for them, and assertively set them. Today's workshop is a bit different than the other two because the focus is specifically on yourself. It addresses setting intentional boundaries for your safety, your energy, and your comfort. Let's begin with safety boundaries. This is an extremely important one for survivors with memory or mobility challenges. Many times, individuals have physical limitations or fatigue that can limit mobility. When you've noticed you can no longer do the things you used to before injury, it's easy to feel helpless. Number one, it's important to ask for help. Show your friends and family how best to support you. For myself, I didn't drive before my accident, so I was used to relying on others for transportation or taking the bus. As I became more independent, I'd use services like HandyDart or public transit. And often I'd still tell someone where and when I was going somewhere in case I got confused or disoriented or had a fall. Members, how have you asked for support? Oh, Craig, I think you're still muted.
I was very lucky that my wife understood me, that it was very hard for me to ask for help
Mm,
because then I felt weak.
yes,
And she explained to me that a lot of times people want to help, but they don't know how. So
yes.
what I'm actually doing is helping them feel fulfilled because then they can help me.
Wow.
And
That's
the other thing that my wife got me to do was
mhm,
because a lot of times she would put the same expectation on me, but
mm.
I was always clean shaved. So she got me to grow a beard, which reminded her not to put the same expectations on me, which then helped my confidence.
Huh. What an interesting way to use just something physical about yourself to change her thinking. Would anyone else like to say something? No? Okay. Thank you, Craig. The second safety boundary is saying no to activities I felt were inaccessible to me. The key word here is felt. For example, if I was feeling fatigued or dealing with a certain injury, it might have been risky to go out and try a new activity. Similarly, I might have said no to an event that required a lot of walking or at a location that I knew had uneven ground or lots of stairs, etc. In the context of brain injury recovery, many survivors are pushing themselves to recover, but it's important to recognize when a situation is just challenging and when it's a legitimate safety risk. Many people without mobility challenges often do not see mobility challenges. For example, a place that only has a two-step entry may seem accessible to someone who's never used a wheelchair or mobility aid. There's an app called Access Now that finds and rates the accessibility of public places. Though this is a helpful resource to navigating the community, the more important thing is to mm, sorry. Members, what has been your biggest challenge to accessibility?
My first brain injury actually happened over 40 years ago,
Wow,
and I was actually in a wheelchair for 5 years. And back then, they did not have any kind of wheelchair accessibility.
that must have been so hard.
Yeah. And so now, when I notice something that is not wheelchair accessible, like for instance, I would go into some stores and they say it's wheelchair accessible, but you can't push the door. They
Yeah,
don't have one of those buttons because it's too
yeah.
heavy, So I'll go to the manager and bring it to his attention. And then I wait a couple of months. If nothing happens, I go back again.
Good, good for you. It's like such a changed perspective when you've been there yourself and are like, oh no, what do I do? And then you see this barrier and you're like, Maybe I can help someone still struggling, you know? Thank you, Craig. The next step is to communicate your safety needs when you're out with others and be aware of them when you're alone. Practicing caution and taking your time helps. An assertive way to communicate your safety needs could be as simple as saying something like, I can't safely go up those stairs. Let's find a ramp. Or simply, I'm not able to do that. Though it's important not to limit your growth and recovery goals. It's also important to be able to advocate for yourself and set your safety boundaries clearly. Members, how have you communicated your safety needs?
Hi,
Hi.
I think I have something to contribute here that relates to a lot of the questions you've been asking. I was 27 when I was in a motor vehicle accident, and I had to start asking my partner to attend, or I felt as though I should, and I found it better to ask my partner to attend medical and dental appointments with me, because it can be disorienting for me to talk coherently when I'm meeting new people
Yeah.
and recalling the correct facts or answering a question quickly, which is of essence, and like it must be done in a medical or dental appointment, especially if you're asking for care.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, and I tend to move and tremor, and that can get worse with um, fatigue or stress. So um, especially during something like a dental appointment, it takes a lot of pressure off me to have my partner there answering some questions that I might hesitate to form a good answer to immediately, and to help navigate something like if there's a dental exam or cleaning or anything going on, what I might not be able to cue them into um, in case I start to lose some motor control, and then there are dental um, tools, and that can be an issue. So that's one unique thing that I've been able to navigate recently that I'm happy I can get through more smoothly today.
Yes, it sounds like your partner has been such a huge support to just keeping you comfortable and helping explain the things that are too much right in the moment.
I think you can also um, probably let anyone working with me know what symptom, like when there are symptoms that look like they're aggravating, so that if I cannot let somebody know, um, I might have a loss of motor control and not have control of um, my motor functioning, then he will see it even if I'm not able to communicate it in some way. So it's good.
That's awesome to
Yeah.
have such communication between you that you can sense when you're about to have a tremor or an issue and say, hey, give the lady space, right?
Yeah. So I can take a moment to breathe. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you.
The next boundary we're going to move into is energy boundaries. Well, exercise after a brain injury has many benefits, such as improved mood, support for brain healing and function, support for bodily health and well-being. Energy and capacity can be limiting factors to exercise and activity. It can be critical to recognize when you are physically or mentally drained and to know the steps you need to take care of yourself. A quote I really like that helps me step back sometimes is, "You can't pour from an empty cup." Sorry about that. Members, what are the signs that may identify fatigue? Hi.
I think for me, fatigue can look like my muscles starting to tighten, my vision starting to become unstable. I can start to feel a kind of creeping headache, or I might start to feel more weak physically. And like maybe I just need to sit down for a little while. And those are all, I think, quite early signs, or even just a small, like perspiration on my skin too. They seem to be early signs that that I might need to sit down, take a 5-minute break at the least.
Those are great indicators, and you seem very self-aware of like when you're just not feeling 100% and you need to step back and recharge.
I find for myself, it's the tremors again start acting up. But the
Oh.
other thing that I'll notice too is that when I'm talking, my words will get all mixed up.
Mm.
You know, where I think I'm saying something properly. So I
Yeah.
try to watch the other people's face. If all kind of giving me a strange look, I realize then, okay, I'm getting my mixed all talked up. You know,
that is impressive that you've learned to take cues from them, even though you might think you're mixed or all words up. Thank you. Another factor in protecting your energy is ensuring you get adequate sleep. Sleep-related treatments can improve many of the adverse outcomes of TBI, such as depression, PTSD, and diminished quality of life. In fact, memories are consolidated during sleep. This refers to the process your brain goes through to turn short-term memories into long-term ones. This is a crucial part of neuroplasticity. I've made a list of a few researched effective tips for better sleep. Step 1, be consistent with the time you wake up and go to bed each night. Step 2, get some sun. UV light helps regulate the circadian rhythm, your body's natural sleep clock. Step 3, eat healthy. In addition to choosing healthy, nutritious foods, avoid caffeine before bed. Step 4, limit screen time. Too much blue light exposure from devices can interrupt sleep patterns. Step 5, make your space restful. Cool, quiet, and dark rooms with curtains drawn. Maybe you need earplugs or sleep music can help create a peaceful environment. Step 6, keep a worry journal. Having a little book beside your bed to jot down your concerns, or even things you have to do tomorrow morning, can help you stay organized and remove the feeling of urgency when you know you've got the book for tomorrow. By being mindful of all the things that help and hurt your energy, you can be more easily set boundaries for yourself that will reserve and maybe improve energy. The next boundary to set with yourself relates to the first two. The comfort boundary. When you don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable. And when your energy is depleted, you don't feel comfortable either. How can you maintain your own comfort in difficult situations? Members, how do you maintain your comfort?
I went to campus and did some classes, and I found that students wanted to invite me out and talk about the contributions I made to class for lunch or whatever. But that was a big commitment for me, and it was challenging. But I had to say that I appreciated their invitation, but I was going to go home for my health. And I wasn't quite so comfortable with that either, really, because I knew in some respects I was probably visibly struggling. But now I recently adopted two cats, and so I'm not on campus anymore, but if I don't have to refer to my health in a social situation to say, I want to go, I'm going home now, or just to put a close to this situation because I'm going home to feed my cats. And that's probably true.
That's great that you um, have the cats now that you can use as your scapegoat when you get anxious and can't handle a situation. Just, oh, the cats need to be fed. Brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, they're a big part of my comfort at home too.
Huge.
Try to do to help for my comfort level is if I'm going to say be taking a class or I'm going to be going to a new restaurant, this kind of thing, go there ahead of time. That way I can figure out where I park, where the washroom is, where to sit, all that kind of thing. Because whenever you try something new, your anxiety is always high anyhow. So if I can take that off the table, then I then hopefully then can get more out of the class or more out of the conversation at the restaurant.
That's brilliant. You do your due diligence and research ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about those things.
The other thing I do too is if it's a restaurant, I ask where a table would be quiet, but
Mhm.
I'd want to find a spot to where I'm looking away. I'm not looking at everybody else in the restaurant because that always causes me anxiety. So to where my back's to them, but also to find out the number of that table and reserve that table for when you do go.
Hmm. Do you mean like the same table every time?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Many years ago, I used to waitress, and there were certain customers that liked certain tables. So I know.
Um, can I add something to that?
Of course.
Okay. To maintain my comfort, this has made a big difference for regulating my nervous system.
Yes.
And when I can regulate my nervous system, then I can do more and I have a better quality of life. So, some things that helped me early on was just going out for short periods of time, not going far, and
Yeah.
then slowly building that up. Also, now that I go out for longer periods of time and have for years now, I always bring water. I always bring a little snack just in case. Make sure I have earplugs just in case, sunglasses, even if, you know, it might be cloudy at the time. And just make sure my physical needs are looked after. And then I also always mentally prepare, like, okay, I don't have to stay the whole time, or I can just go check it out, see how I feel. So I give myself permission in advance. And I sort of visualize, okay, well, if this doesn't go well for me, then I will XYZ. So I kind of make a plan in advance and give myself an out. And then if other people are involved, who maybe don't know me very well, then or even if they do, I always just say the same thing out loud so that they know and they're not sort of surprised when all of a sudden I want to leave or, something, um, they just have a heads up what my needs might be in that situation. And then I can relax mentally. It really takes the pressure off me and I can get into a state of enjoyment. And when I'm in the psychological state of enjoyment, then the sensory bombardment doesn't bother me as much
Mm.
and I don't get as tired. My nervous system regulates more. I sleep better that night. I feel better the next morning. And it's this cycle. So I never really realized that in the early days, the impact of all the little things and how they were affecting my sleep, either positively or negatively. And then having a good night's sleep, like you said, makes a world of difference for how I feel the next day and what I can do the next day, and just my ability to regulate my mind, my body, my symptoms, and function more in the world. And then the more I can function, the more my confidence goes up. So it's this like positive feedback loop, I guess I would say.
Totally. And you've got all these strategies for what to do if, and you're prepared for, whatever comes up because you've got an out, right? You've already said, listen, hey, if I get overwhelmed, I need to get out of here, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're off the hook. That's a great system, Kate. I wish I had that good a system.
That
You had
also
mentioned-
oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead, Kelsey.
I was going to say that also reminds me of chunking activities. I
Mm,
used to think of activity as being done sort of completely all at once. And now I will think of whatever I want to get done and get creative about how many times can I divide it into discrete, small steps that I can put down and break from. Whether I'm interrupted by my symptoms or a cat wanting to play. So, yeah, that's it's also very good for managing um, my the energy that I have, I think, as well, because and safety, frankly, because if I'm doing something, let's say like cooking, and I'm having a very low energy day, I can anticipate there are going to be other days I'm going to be really low energy. And so I will, for example, take things that I want to prep and take them to my kitchen table and just sit down
yeah,
and prep each thing one at a time and put them away in the fridge or sometimes put prepared and things like ingredients I use often
yeah,
in baggies in the freezer so that I can take them out and it eliminates some of the prep time that I need to use. So I'm using a knife when I'm not shaking as much, when I have the energy to put those things away, and if I'm dealing with something that needs to be cleaned up all in one go, it's I have a lot less to do before I get to that point.
that's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Earlier, you had mentioned on your night table to have a little book to write down things so you don't forget.
Yeah.
I found though that didn't quite work for me because I'd usually have to turn on the light. I wake up more so I could write down, read my writing. So I actually record it.
Ah,
But I
even
ha but I
better.
have a little recorder. I don't use my phone because my phone will light up during the night.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great idea, Craig. I've got some self-soothing techniques and strategies for adults. Step 1, find a different space to occupy for a while. Sometimes a change of scenery can change your perspective and mood. When I feel overwhelmed or get a mental block, I sit in my comfy chair by the window and try to stay present with the moment. Another useful strategy is to stretch. Stretching increases blood flow and delivers more oxygen to the brain, which can send signals to release neurotransmitters like serotonin. Another helpful strategy is to look at soothing imagery, looking at pleasant, comforting pictures of loved ones, favorite places, or even inspirational quotes can be comforting. Soothing music and scents. Listen to your favorite song, maybe one that holds happy associations. Mine is American Pie by Don McLean. Or there are lots of meditation resources on YouTube. Or use essential oils on your skin or in a diffuser if you don't have allergies. Lavender, chamomile, sandalwood, and orange all have calming properties. The last one is self-compassion. Our internal dialogue shapes our perception of ourself and our world. Speak only kind words to yourself and give excuse me, and give yourself the grace to have a bad day. Accept yourself as you are in the moment. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. By setting these intentional boundaries, you are discovering your physical and emotional needs and honoring yourself. That's all the material I got.
I was going to mention when I freshly had a brain injury, I've had 3 brain injuries. But after the first one, I found I was always berating myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was saying, oh, I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. So I was actually told to quit shooting all over myself. But the other thing for helping with the self-berating is my wife suggested I find a picture when I was about 4 or 5, you know, a happy time, and put it on the bathroom mirror. So every time I go, I see that picture. So I start getting that imprinted in my brain. So when I start berating myself, think, is that how you would talk to that child? It usually takes the edge off.
That's a great strategy, Craig, to because nobody would want to berate or bully or tease their inner child.
If anyone else has any questions or comments, I just want to say we can continue with questions for Ellie or group discussion. I just wanted to take the chance to say thank you to Ellie for taking us through that session, and thank you for everyone else. And thank you to everyone for sharing their tips. Um, and yeah, I'll leave
Thanks, Ryan.
I'll give the floor to anyone else who might want to say something.
Appreciate you putting this all together to share with us, Ellie.
Aw,
You
thank
know,
you.
that's one of the things that I try to do too I volunteer at Nanaimo Brain Injury Society. So I try to share my experience to hopefully make it easier for someone else. And to me, that's what you're doing with what you're presenting here.
That's such a meaningful compliment. Thank you, Craig.
You're welcome.
And I'll open the floor if anyone wants to ask personal questions about my recovery. I'm used to this type of thing.